And we are live and direct. Welcome back, creative community, acting community, entertainers, performers, comedians, stand ups, pitchers, sellers, performers of all types and shapes and colors and varieties. Welcome to the COACHMC studio. This is Lorenzo, and this is the place where we'll help you to shape unique behavior deliveries, where we'll help you to get recognized for real and for sure in the audition room. So let me welcome everybody. And for everybody who's new on the channel, we bring you insights, we bring you tips, and we bring you a lot of effective and powerful and very impactful tools from over 30 plus years of acting experience, from over 10 plus years of coaching experience working on the field, on set with many actors, many different clients from all types of backgrounds all over the globe, basically. So it's a big honor to welcome you to this little creative community here where we forge everyday culture based on hard work, based on passion, based on focus, and the right ideas, the right sparks that really illuminate the room and light up the room. And this is where we try to help you to reach that top level, that mastery level, and keep that high plateau for a consistent amount of time where you can really impact your community, your acting environment, your entertainment industry environment, your audience for the longest time possible, basically, and really involve them in your story and what you want to tell. And this is the beauty of arts. This is the beauty of creating. This is the beauty of acting. And let me welcome Julian here in the chat room. Hey, Lorenzo. Welcome back, Julian. Thanks so much for being on the show tonight. And we have a great little masterclass going on. This is actually the second part. The first part came out on Monday where we talked about the revolution that is going on. And this is such an important class. And I'm really hyped and pumped to do this. We did a lot of research. We did a lot of, also asking people, interviewing people, and really kind of, perceiving the sentiment of many creators out there and really understanding what drives many people out there, and also giving you the opportunity to really kind of, get a glimpse into this world that is happening right now, that is unfolding right now, where, people are, making content more and more, producing more and more content, digital content, video content for all these outlets out there. And like I said in the first part on Monday, just to kind of give you a little recap in case you're just tuning in today, this revolution that is going on is pretty simple to explain. Video is everywhere. Digital content is everywhere. And the opportunities that, that come along with that kind of revolution, they are just waiting to be grabbed and taken advantage of, right? Because like I mentioned really quickly, YouTube has become like the second largest website on this planet. Video content is being consumed in a ridiculous amount on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, even on LinkedIn right now. And it has taken over the corporate world, the entertainment industry world. Videos are pretty much presented everywhere on the globe, and there are so many opportunities for actors out there, not only being part of a series, of a pilot, of a movie, or of a stage play, but being involved in many different interesting projects, short movies, and all types of industrial movies and corporate movies for this digital content thirst, right? That is just pumping over the last couple of years. The media world around video has grown over 15%. That means it's an exponential growth, basically, and it doesn't seem to stop. So let me welcome Annie Boo. Hello, Lorenzo. Rosita Macaron, so happy that you're joining the chat tonight as well. It's great to have you guys, to have this community here with us, and we're striving for excellence. And that's why this second part of this acting mania, right, and the video revolution is going on today. Today, I'm trying to give you more structure, more context, and sort of a little outlook in terms of, if I caught your interest with the first part and you are maybe asking yourself, this is actually not bad, right? Instead of just being an actor and just kind of reproduce content whenever I get asked to, I start to produce my own content on a constant basis, but not just as someone who just wants to post something in order kind of to have his ego flattered a little bit and just, playing around with vanity metrics, basically, that are not going anywhere. Doing that with a purpose, doing that with an intent, doing that with, with a strategy, and maybe creating also a second or even a third channel of income, like a new stream of income where you are still related to your core profession, where you don't have to deviate that much from your original path of being an actor and making money at the same time, can be sometimes a struggle out there. There are a lot of jobs, but even more actors, so sometimes we have to face dry periods for an extended amount of time. And most of the actors, they kind of search for little jobs, side hustles here and there, but they're originally like where they intended just to be actors, and just by getting side jobs that are not really kind of fruitful for the intention, that could take away a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of focus. So why not staying in that same field of occupation, but still being proactive and having the chance to rehearse, having the chance to get better, having the chance to learn new things, new skills to kind of improve, your toolbox, and also to widen your horizons, right? So that was pretty much the proposition of the first video. And now today, I'm going to show you a little bit more and to detail, and with a few tips here and there, how you can actually break this down and what type of strategy you need to make this happen. Because let's face it, if you're not part of the digital content producing community, if you are not really putting anything out there to make yourself heard and seen, and you're just relying on, let's say, just taking pictures and sporadically kind of upload a video here and there when something interesting happens in your life, chances are you're missing out on big opportunities, on a big chunk of what the communication in entertainment industry is all about, and how these networks interact with each other. If you're not taking part actively at this community, because this community doesn't just exist when we're auditioning, when we're rolling out the movies, or when we start shooting them. This community exists throughout the year, all over the globe. It's a universe in itself. And you have many nerds, you have many interesting people, you have many challenging persons and people there, and a lot of relevant players, and they're all communicating with each other, and they're all collecting ideas throughout the year, collecting inspiration, and kind of taking in what the currents are and what the new latest styles and fashions are. So they need to be the part of the culture, as well as you need to be part of the culture. And now social media has given us a platform, an opportunity to meet, like a level playing field, where everybody can kind of, where everybody has the opportunity and the possibility to, expose himself and kind of disclose what he's all about. Usually actors are complaining that during the casting, during the interview, during the auditioning process, there are not a lot of chances, and there isn't a lot of time to come across as a human being, besides being an actor, right? Telling a little bit about yourself and having the opportunity to, show some insights here and there, because of course the schedule is tight. And here we can realize that, really tell something about us, and really inspire people and create connections and building up networks, and maybe helping other people out. And this is the opportunity that video has given us, right? It's a very powerful instrument, basically, that just needs to be used in the appropriate manner. Like Einstein always said about the brain, right? Every brain potentially is like the most powerful weapon in the universe, with its, with its only weakness, that of having a user, basically, right? It's just us, right? The way we are using those instruments, whether we make them powerful or whether we make them useless, right? It really depends from our perspective. It really depends from the work that we are able to put into this, and make it work for ourselves, and not just being consumer of a product, but contributor of a culture. So let's dive right into it, and let's break this down a little bit furthermore, and let's share some insights. But hey, before I do this, right, this very valuable work for the community, and before I share some of my secrets that I've gathered personally in over 30 plus years of acting experience, and hard labor and sweat and passion and tears and fightings and strugglings on set and off set as well, let me just, remind you very gently and humbly that if you haven't so far, please consider subscribing, and please hit that like button. It really goes such a long way to support this channel. It means a lot to us here, because we're putting in the great work for you guys, and it really kind of makes this whole endeavor really worth it. And it shows the algorithm what you value, what's important to you. And if you think that this information contains some valuable data points, so make sure to tell the algorithm just by hitting that little like button, and subscribing, of course, to the channel. And by all means, if you have anything to say, if if you're looking out for a specific content, if there is anything you want to add to this program, don't hesitate. Just make sure to comment in the comment section below so the community can grow, can go further and better all together, because that's ultimately our goal here at the COACHMC studio. So let's dive right into it. Let's meet L, right? Let's meet the algorithm, because I think a lot of problems that people have when it comes down to present themselves, when it comes down to create digital content, to really become its own producers of a digital content creation company, is that people don't know what they're essentially dealing with. What is this environment consisting of? What is its core? What is the rule here on this new playground? A lot of people struggle with the concept of on how L basically works, and what L wants to see, and what the algorithm appreciates and whatnot, right? And so it's also difficult because I totally understand that it's kind of a jungle, because there are different social media platforms, there's different algorithms going on, and they all work on different vectors and inputs and data points. And so not every algorithm works in the same way. And what is it that essentially L is looking for? Well, basically, and here's the interesting point about all this, the L system is based on how we think, right? It's based on our brain. It's based on how we connect neurons and how we kind of process information, our neocortex and our midcortex. And where does this information actually, originally come from? Because we get information, we hear information, we absorb information, but who actually brings the information? Who transports the information into our neocortex, right? And this is how L actually works. The bouncer in front of the door, that, eventually opens up, and then it kind of leads you into this big building that our neocortex is, right? This incredible, futuristic looking like neocortex, high computerized machine that we have inside of here. The bouncer, right? He's very more rudimental, I would say, and very more down to earth in the most figuratively speaking way possible, right? He kind of decides before information gets passed on to the neocortex how this information gets passed on. Remember, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And L works in the same way that our reptilian center, our crocodile brain, our R center works right? Like humans do. Like, how does our brain work like? Ask yourself this very simple question, because it's not actually that complicated. It's not about numbers all the time. It's not about the right schedule all the time. It's not about, when you post or not. I mean, these are relevant things that we can dive into. But most importantly, it's how the information is formulated. Whether that's educational information or just informational information in terms of, news flash or anything, or whether that's, a mixture of entertainment maybe and information, that's called infotainment, which is sort of the holy grail of the algorithm, right? If you can combine something very useful and very informative and very helpful for the masses, and can wrap this up into a very funny and crisp and nice delivery, then you have the perfect match, the perfect combination. And this is how our brain works. We want information to be crisp, to be full of novelty. We want our information to be appealing, maybe slightly surprising, new, kind of intriguing. And when information is wrapped up in these adjectives and in the way of formulating and kind of wrapping them up and kind of transmitting them, then our reptilian center, our bouncer in front of the door of the big skyscraper, lets the information in without severely truncating it, right? Without kind of cutting it and just ripping it apart. Because whenever information comes across as being too complicated, too convoluted, too aggressive, right, too obfuscated, too long, whenever information is boring or just full of numbers and all that, our cognition becomes very cold. It freezes down, and reptilian center kind of, the bouncer in front of the door says, you know what, you're not coming in. You're a downer here, right? You're not ready to party, right? It's just not the right, when information is threatening, whenever it's not wrapped up in a good way, right? In terms of how the delivery is, how your speaking patterns are, everything that really basically kind of destroys the appeal of the information is toxic for our bouncer, so he won't let you in. And that's when the information doesn't really get passed on correctly, and all of a sudden the neocortex starts to get bored out of what you never comes across here, and he will turn you down. And that is true for the lens, that is true for the casting director, that is true for meeting anybody. Like for the first time, we decide in a matter of seconds, we decide if we like or we dislike somebody, right? It's just the way somebody speaks, how he wraps up information, if he's appealing, if he's interesting, intriguing, and compelling, or boring and kind of mediocre and not really interesting, right? So we decide immediately, and judge people also pretty quickly based on these vectors. And the brain does the same thing. And subsequently, since L was built, also on our framework, on our brain's framework to appeal at our brain, it pretty much works this way as well. So the first strategy tip that I would have to you, that I could share with you is like, when you meet the algorithm, when you meet your smart device, and now you start to produce content because you figured out a strategy, figured out something to say that's interesting, figured out your schedule, and figured out the context on how you want to present it, then it's about how you present it, right? It's not so much about what you're doing, but how you do it, of course. And the way you present it is really crucial, especially in the beginning, on how people will perceive you, because it's, again, the initial condition that it's most important, right? When we first meet somebody, it's really like the first couple of minutes that will kind of lay down the tracks. And it's really hard to come back on a straight track if you kind of deviated too much, in the beginning. So it's really important, especially in the beginning, to kind of lay down perfectly what you're all about and wrap this information up in the most compelling way, so the algorithm favorizes you, right? L understands that you have quality to offer. He understands clearly what you're talking about, what your mission is, and what your tools actually are, because you make them tangible, crisp, and you describe perfectly what you are about, what type of solutions you are offering, what kind of problems you are solving. So the algorithm starts to understand, all right, he's about this, that, and this. And so now I can send this out in packages to people I think the algorithm thinks are really invested in this type of information, really potentially interested in the tools, and they could engage with you. And when she gets that connection happen, right, when that firstly kind of happens, and you are fortifying consistently that connection, more connections will be created, exactly like in your brain. It's more and more knots get added to the synchronicity, to the cluster that surrounds your type of information. And the more connections there are, the bigger the cluster becomes, the more volume it can appreciate, and the more information it can contain, and the bigger your subscribe account will be, and the more connections you will create to potential sponsors, deals, and a lot of very interesting things that can come along with creating this type of content in such a consistent way. So meeting L means just meeting yourself, meeting your brain. What's interesting to you? What is appealing to you? What compels you? What intrigues you? What is full of tension and interesting mass, right? Think about all these things, and how do you want to describe those things, right? When you get when you get information into your system, like, how do you want that information to be delivered in a fun, crisp way, right? In such a compelling way that it kind of catches you right away, where you get involved right away, where you want to just explore more and more, right? This is the way you want to get told things. So this is the way you should tell things to appeal to the algorithm. This is, I think, one of the most basic rules that you can fulfill in order to have success while using video for your career, or to kind of build up a second stream of income, or to have your acting skills fortified, and maybe create some relevant connections with the relevant players in your respective field. All these things can happen if you put in the right frame work, and if you really understand what the context is of this platform that is offering you this free space of just, expressing yourself whenever you want. That's, I think, pretty crazy. So this is how the algorithm works. Whenever you got to present something, do it in a clear, sharp, crisp, entertaining, funny, intriguing, compelling way. Avoid being aggressive or too intense or too frightened or too scared, too complicated, too convoluted. Don't brag with your smartness, with your IQ. Keep sentences short, be concise, be clear about your mission, about what type of instruments you're offering, what type of solutions you're bringing to the market, how you can potentially help people, right? Be very clear about these objectives and kind of translate them immediately in effective, impactful, and authentic tools that really just belong to you. And the way you should deliver it, it's exactly the way you want things to be delivered, to your doorstep, right? So it needs to be that. It needs to be funny. It needs to be you. It needs to be authentic. Avoid anything that's stupid, unrealistic, unnormal, and just focus on the beauty of what you want to share and bring to the people and the passion that stands behind it. Because ultimately that brings us to the second point. It's the identity that you will create for yourself. Because when you're playing a role, when you're interpreting a different character, when you're kind of slipping in and transiting into, when you have that transition happen into the role, into the character, this is a new identity, right, that you're taking on. And sometimes, even for an extended amount of time, right, when you're playing, on the theater stage, maybe you have like a lot of shows going on where you're constantly kind of, unpacking this character, presenting him, and kind of packing him back. And this identity is pretty much the same thing that you need to appeal to the algorithm, to the social media world, and also to create a strong and compelling kind of tagline that people associate with your content. What type of content are you producing as an actor, as a performer, as a stand-up, as a lyricist, as a poet, as a musician, as a slam poetry rapper, whatever it is? What type of content is that? What type of identity has that content? For what are you actually standing in? What are you standing in for? What is it that you're truly believing in, right? Because if you have that, then you have this identity that you show all the time. And I think this is a very, very crucial point, because most of the people get social media confused, right? I mean, it's just a way on how you kind of work with that, world, how you interact with that world. That is so important. Because of course it's another identity. We don't have to pretend to be completely ourselves. We won't disclose all of our secrets, all of our intimacy. Well, we shouldn't. Or I mean, if some people would like to do so, just go ahead. This is maybe another video, but most of the times it's just an extension of an facet of a small niche of what you are. It just shows few layers of the cake, but not the whole cake. And this niche, this slice that you're presenting to this world is standing in for something. It's standing in for a mood, for an ambience, for a culture, for a certain passion, for a way of working, a way of presenting. And that is your brand, because we all, let's face it, we all have become brands, right? We are single unit brands all over the place. We can get brand deals, sponsorships, we get brand endorsements. We can, throughout the social media world, there are so many ways of marketing your skills, your talents, and your experience. You can, literally make an income out of YouTube and Skillshare and all the other beautiful networks and sources out there that will kind of allow you to get in contact with potential customers, Shopify, and all these, incredible opportunities out there. So you're a brand, you're standing in for something. And the sharper, the closer, the more authentic, and the more everything is related to your brand, the more credible you come across, the more chances you will have to, to create that consistent stream of income, or at least to get recognized by the industry player as a certain identity. And if they identify you with a certain idea, with a certain culture, that's when they can align that acknowledgement with a potential, project they have in mind. And now all of a sudden, there is a channel of opportunity or a window of opportunity opening up for yourself just by, presenting yourself in the most effective and most authentic way possible. So you see all the implications of this work, if done in the right manner, can mean a lot to you, to your business, to your fulfillment, and to your skill set. So the brand identity is who we are, what we offer, and how we offer it. What kind of mood, atmosphere, what kind of environment we're actually standing for. What is it that they will find? Is it more a humoristic environment? Is it more a serious environment, more thoughtful, melancholic, even depressive sometimes? Or is it more like a belief environment where things are based on belief, or inspirational quotes? Is it more something about the acting environment? All these things, right? And really standing really in for those things. Let people remember for what you're standing in for, and they will always associate you with a certain emotion, and that already helps you to connect to certain people, because all of a sudden it's like, oh, he is this and that actor, and she is always doing the funny stuff, and so already you get a notion of who you are and what your work is all about. So even if for an industry player that kind of is considering hiring you, or just joining the audition, or just looking for new talents out there, right? If they get an idea, like immediately, if you come across as somebody who is, has a shape, a silhouette where I can clearly see what this brand identity is all about, they already can, kind of, it's an easier way to remember you, to hire you, to kind of find you, because that's the niche you're looking for when I'm looking for that brand identity. So immediately you are belonging to a community, to a culture. Or you just do it the other way around, where you don't belong to anybody, where you just try to create your own culture, which is, of course, a kind of a bold expression right there. It's pretty, it's audacious to say the least, like creating an own culture, but that can happen. I mean, look on TikTok, how many different cultures there are, how many ways of expressing, how many actors kind of turn out, and turned around their talents and kind of, crafted something completely new. It's interesting, right? All the possibilities out there. So it's really just up to you. And the boundaries here are just, they're just set by your fantasy and by your inner restrictions, because really there aren't restrictions, right? And this is because it's also the reason why we're doing this double type of masterclass, because I think it's such an important issue that is coming up, the way we're presenting ourselves, the working ourselves, because this work really reflects also and kind of shines back onto our acting work and to our corporate work and to our entertainment industry work. Because the more self-sustained and more self-aware we become through the process of just kind of engaging with these side projects, the more also we come across as with more layers, we come across as actors as well. And the more self-aware and self-secure we are when we are presenting ourselves as actors. So these two realities, they help each other out a lot. So once you have that, how the algorithm works, and what your brand identity is all about, the next important step would be, what is my goal setting here? In terms of, is there something I really want to achieve in terms of numbers, in terms of connections? Like, let's say you look at the social media, you look at Instagram, and you say, by the end of the year, like starting in January, and by the end of the year, I want to have interesting, engaging, and compelling conversations and exchanges and dialogues with relevant players in my field. And I want to start at least 1 or 2 collaborations and invite it over to 10 auditions, something like that. Like, have some sort of goal setting, right? And don't make it too modest, right? Just place something there that is truly important to you. Say, hey, I got 365 days. And by also leveraging my social media production, and by leveraging my digital content production, and by leveraging my creative skills when I'm shooting for my YouTube channel, I want to reach this important goal, right? I want to make sure that I've contacted many relevant players and that we have very engaging and interesting conversations, because all that leads to maybe a project, maybe to a collaboration, maybe to a consideration for an audition, who knows? Or at least it kind of, lets people remember your face, your name, and that there's something interested linked to you, which is, of course, always positive to survive, on the long term. but it's also a way of really understanding how the relevant players work, right? So your goal setting is really important and crucial in order to understand the business you're in and the environment much better, and really absorb that environment, really make it part of your environment as well. Because sometimes I feel that's also a big obstacle to actors, but all sorts of creative people when they're interacting with the digital media world and content creation world and video world, video making and filmmaking world, because they think there are two separate entities, but they're actually not. They're just an extended part, an extended manifestation of that single original entity. So you are part of this culture already. You're not standing out there and being an outsider and just watching in. You're already standing in. Just appreciate all the opportunities, embrace them fully, and kind of implement them into your schedule, into your work habit, and then you will see how the amazing results will work for you, not against you, because you're part of that already. So don't see yourself as being an outsider who wants to get into something. See yourself as somebody who is part of that tribe already and tries to offer something to the tribe that is useful and meaningful and very compelling at the same time. So when you have that type of strategy and you have, sort of a long-term goal in mind, then you can now start to break it down into daily missions, right? What do you need in order to achieve that long-term goal, that stretch goal, how Jack Welch always liked to say it. And once you have your daily missions figured out, because the daily missions, it's like, bringing buckets full of water into that big stream, and that big stream kind of delivers power, energy, and a lot of traction to the big wheel that kind of propels the ship forward, because it's always about the ship, right? Port A, port B, it's the relationship that you want to bring on. So when you know your long-term goal, you break it down in daily missions, what you need to do that. And the daily missions, in order to make that easier for you, just think about what is it that it's going on right now. What kind of day do we have? It's the week is just starting. It's Monday, right? Your daily missions are always the day that you're in, and just tell what your mission is. Share something useful with the people. Talk about what is going on in the world and how you kind of absorb it and redirect that through your art, and how you want to help people understand parts of the world through your craftsmanship. There is so much about our daily missions that will bring us to that long-term goal, that will, fortify this talent inside of us and make us a better and more passionate and more truthful actor. Because that's I think what sometimes in the understanding of being an actor sometimes is missing. I'm doing this for over 30 years now. Being an actor is something that I've learned to do, but I've never really learned to be an actor. The lesson is never over. There is no point, at least for my understanding and on how I feel and what my opinion is. I've never, I will never reach a point where I say, okay, now it's just, playing it out. I will always learn. It's a never ending process. It's never finished. It's always a development. It's always getting in something that is new and kind of incorporate into that, that into your system. It's always about exploring something curious and something funny, and also going into places that you might be scared of and doing something that's new and kind of and it feels like uncharted territory. All these things, they are very, making, taking risks and risking also to fail and making all these things. That's the daily mission. That's the work. And musicians, in order to become better musicians, they practice all day. Athletes, in order to become better athletes, they do they do sports, they practice all day, right? They're in the gym, they're out in the field, they're taking part at competitions and events and sports events, but they exercise, they work out all day. Why aren't we acting all day? We actors, right? Because we take it for so granted, and now we got it inside of us. We don't need to practice it anymore. But nothing could be further away from the truth, because it's like an instrument. We are an instrument. We are transmitting energy, resonance, frequency, ideas, inspiration, colors, passion, currents, things that we can't even express and explain, that are so far away from a comprehensive word, right? We are so crazy, and we are surrounded by even more craziness. And that means that we need to fine tune our instrument pretty much every day, that we need to kind of focus on our tones and really practice on our scales and on our oscillations and all the emotions and all the temperatures every day. And is there a better way of motivating yourself to practice all day by saying to yourself, well, I need to produce content. That's my daily mission. I need to talk. I need to find a solution. I need to practice. So let me just practice in front of the camera and shoot content and kind of micro smash it for, these social media platforms. So I've rehearsed, I've done something to kind of, progress and become better. And at the same time, I've produced content and I kind of fulfilled my little contract here with the social media world. And I've shared some interesting ideas, values, instruments in video format to the world. And so somebody can appreciate that. It's just a byproduct that you basically just record. That is your daily mission, to become better as an actor and to film that, basically, with, of course, the right content and the right idea of the channel and how you want to frame all this and what your identity is all about, like we discussed just a couple of minutes before. Does that all make sense? Let me know, guys, if you're still with me. And also place a comment in the comment section below what you're thinking of this so far and how you perceive the video revolution. If you're a content creator already, if you are producing already, if you see yourself as somebody who is more like in a collaboration, like in a partnership with another company, instead of just being a content creator or just a content consumer. Here, it's about really understanding and wrapping your mind around this new concept of being a producer of digital content, basically, and being a company more than just a consumer, and just really, putting out some significant work out there that could potentially impact the life of someone else. Ciao, Hila Hila Yogador. Welcome, everybody, to the channel. It's such a pleasure to have you in today. We're 36 minutes into this very exciting live chat. I'm so pumped to do this, guys, because we've seen it here at the COACHMC studio. When we talk about, like, all right, we have 10 plus years of acting and coaching experience. Acting experience is a bit more than that. But when we say that, we really mean that. We have hundreds of different beautiful clients, and we shot thousands of self-tapes, of show reels, of image reels, and we've seen so many different worlds and talents and so many different expressions and beautiful stories unravel and in front of our lenses and in cameras, and working with these incredible people. And I still feel like I'm in this like for a couple of days, and I'd still so much to explore. I feel still like a newbie in this game, and because there's so much to see, so much to discover, and so many also income opportunities here you can't even imagine. So really, I highly encourage you, do some research, find out how video is kind of taking over the world, all the ways you can show video and where it's been aired, and how this is impacting the life of so many people and actors out there. Like, don't take this for granted, right? We have the possibility to present ourselves every day in front of the screen, to practice, to show the world what we're capable of. So don't waste that time, right? At least like consistently put a couple of hours every day into this, and you will see amazing results in a year. Like with every good company, it works like that, right? Just, first you put your Peaky Blinders on, and then you just, storm through the desert for a while. And then eventually you will hit that oasis. And that from there on, it's going to be fun. It's about self-improvement for sure. So once you have those daily missions, because you're, working for that stretch goal, of course, you will immediately realize that something is missing, right? In terms of instruments, what you need to accomplish that, to really produce content almost on a daily basis, to be out there, to create videos, to be creative, to have a strategy and all that, you need instruments. You need the right instruments, you need the right tools. And maybe you don't have them. But hey, guess what? Nobody has started with the right tools and the right instruments right away. I mean, the list is just endless of great inventors and engineers and geniuses from the past who, there is this beautiful saying: sometimes stubbornness is undistinguishable from geniusness. A genius sometimes is just a very stubborn person, right? You have to accumulate that knowledge in order to put it out. Don't assume that automatically, because you know how a smartphone works or a camera works, that you know exactly what type of instruments you will need in order to propel your story, right? And what your contribution looks like is highly based on how you kind of picture that contribution and how you kind of catch that and grab that contribution. And that is based on the tools that you have at your disposition in your arsenal. So you will need a lot of new tools, a lot of new skills, a lot of great instruments to make this revolution happen, right? To kind of, understand really how you can frame conceptually what you got inside of here and inside of there. So acquire those tools, right? Just book some workshops, some courses online, go to Skillshare, acquire the instruments that you need and, get educated about them and just try to put in as much work and many, many hours into this as humanly possible, because it will help you to kind of understand all the ramifications and appreciate your work and value your time even more. So there will be, of course, a time where you think this is kind of, this is overwhelming, right? There's so much that I need to know. There is so much information that I still need to accumulate and process correctly and properly. And there are so many new tools and instruments I have to look into and acquire. There's a lot of time involved in this, maybe some money, and yes, proper planning as well. Poor performance is just, poor planning, right? A proper performance is based on proper planning. And it's always about realizing, like, what is my context here? Do I want to become a self-sustained company that works comfortably from its own studio and kind of has beautiful experiences and has a stream of income and works with different clients whenever this company can, afford to do so? And then as a single unit, maybe you're an actor, a performer, and do something completely else. But in order to kind of set up a structure that is really working and automatized to a certain extent, you really need to put in some foundational work that is, substantial, of course. But that's the mindset that you need. It's not, oh God, now I have to make the algorithm happy. No, I have to create a company. That's what it is. And now if you see it from this perspective, well, of course, if I create a company here, if I really put up some structure, then it needs to be solid. Otherwise, all my time and my energy is wasted here. So I rather do it perfectly right from the start, and then I got it all set, and then I don't even have to take care about it, over it, and don't lose sleep over it for a long, long time. And now I can work on what's really, what really the channel is about, and on the consistent work that I need to put out. But the tools and the instruments, the better you choose them and the clearer your picture is, and the more substantial your fundamentals are on creating this framework, on really planning your schedule, and really telling your friends what you're planning to do, and really maybe just hiring a couple of friends or taking them over into your project and really letting your family understand that now you will have to kind of reschedule a few things here and there. I mean, it's really up to you to create that structure. If you are not saying it out loud, your brain won't perceive it, and then you don't believe it. And let's get to the last and most important part. It's about having that engagement with the audience. Once you've, grinded out the content, it's about taking advantage of the reaction. And don't be too humble, and don't be too shy, but don't be too aggressive, and don't be too polite, and don't be, exclude too, right? Just be you, right? Don't be too anything. Just be you. Just engage with the people you caught interest with, and that caught interest with your content, right? And just generally try to help them out. Try to find solutions. Take some notes. Write down what you just discussed, and tinker about further and further and further and more effective and more powerful tools that you can share to those people and to help them out to kind of improve their style, their delivery, their life, and their craft as well. And you will see that feedback that will create and generate a lot of positive energy, some income, and some great networking. It's the engagement that you have with your audience and really understanding what your audience is about. Ask them questions, create communities, write them private messages, direct messages, and be very attentive to what they're saying. Listen closely and just shut up and take that in and kind of process that and put out some even better content next time. And always try to improve that to make the audience happy, because the audience is you, right? The audience is based on people that are kind of reflecting what you are in different aspects and different shapes and forms, but it's always you. We are always attracting the friends that kind of represent parts of us or aspects of us, what we got inside of us. So the audience is you, and you want to be entertained. In what way? right? Ask yourself this question. It's how we do it again, and it's how we engage with that audience once we, we created that connection, and how we keep that rolling and make that an automatism. Like everything else, it becomes a habit, it becomes you, it becomes the engagement that you want to see. If you ignite enthusiasm into the eyes, into the hearts of your audience, if they really understand what your mission is, they can share your perspective, and whether they side with you or not, but now you're at least clearly stating what you're standing for. And that engagement, that is more fruitful than anything else, because a loyal fan base, even if it's a small group of people, will give you way more than like a huge and massive fan base that is just superficially interested in what you're doing, and they're just part of the tribe or the fashion, but not really believing in your project. It's better to have like a consistent small number of very loyal and dedicated fans that you really kind of believe in what you're doing, because previously you've done the good work that we just mentioned, than hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people that really aren't just all there because of you, but because somebody told them that you are cool, right? There's a big difference to that, and that is the humanity in us and the aspect of believability and consistency that we carry in all of us. So we just need to kind of show it and face all the consequences and be happy, because don't take it for granted that somebody reacts to the material that you're grinding out, because there are many channels, many videos that aren't be seen. There is a gigantic pile of dumpster stuff that nobody sees, and it's been produced, right? There's somebody worked on this material, somebody put some passion, love, and steam behind it, and still it's not getting any traction. So don't take it for too granted that people are reacting and watching to your stuff, and also watching your stuff and also reacting to it, because that's what this is all about. So reactions, press, good press, bad press, there's press, it's just reactions. They're all good, right? Just take them in, understand what they are coming from, and then move on, and don't stop grinding, right? Don't stop grinding, friends. Do you think it's helpful, Annie Boo asks, to define us and our characters? Or should I do it all by myself? What our passion, or should I, do it for yourself, right? Write these things down. These are fundamental things that you need to really understand what you are and what your product is all about. And once you've understood, once you've explained it to yourself, once you kind of pushed it and pressed it and compacted it into a single sentence, maybe just 3 words, if you can define what your character and your passion is all about in 3 words, then people will understand it too, right? And I think with this, guys, we're closing down this beautiful night. It's been a great pleasure sharing this second part of this masterclass. It's about really putting in this great work, because there is a field out there, and it's huge, and they're all waiting for your information, for your content, for your videos, for your story. So be the first and most invested interpreter of your story. Really believe in what you're doing, and really commit to your work, to your craftsmanship, and really set big goals and have daily missions to sustain those big long-term stretch goals, and acquire all the tools, all the instruments that you need. Don't complain. And once you get reaction, don't take that reaction for too granted, and get engagement, talk with people, and just make that network work for you, not against you. Be part of that culture and widen your horizon every time you switch on that camera. That's how the audience will appreciate your work, your love, and your passion. So thank you so much, guys, for sticking with us till the end. It's been a great pleasure sharing this with you. If you have any other questions, please let me know in the comment section below, or just hit me up on Instagram. It's the COACHMC, and just send me a DM there. And if you want to collaborate, want to work on your show reel, on your presentation, on your pitch, on your sale, whatever it is, whenever it's about communication, this is the right channel for you. You should just contact me through my website. It's the COACHMC.studio. Just write me a nice email, right? Like a nice little letter, right? What's happening to the people out there? Just write me a nice letter and what you want to do, and maybe we'll find out we're a great match for each other, and we can start something amazing all together the next day, right? So thank you so much, guys. Again, subscribe to the channel if you haven't so far. It goes such a long way to kind of support this channel. It means so much to me. Thank you so much. And yeah, I guess now you're ready to perform. Let's rock, guys.